Hello everyone, welcome to Person Simplifies Programming. So this is a challenge or a kind of exercise from our day three of our 6 months mentorship program where we taught functions. And I recently passed I recently did a job interview and I passed the assessment test. That was in a Turin assessment test. I passed the JavaScript and the TypeScript. So after every day, I'm actually going to do some exercises that look like the kind of test they give there. So this is the kind of test they actually give. So look at this exercise. It says, define a recursive function is even that determines if a positive whole number is even using the rules. All right, we are going to be writing a function. That's what we taught our students in this in day three. So we are going to check if the number is zero, that means it's even. If it is one, it is odd. Normally, we used to use the ternary modulus operator to check if a number is even or not by dividing it by two, and if the ternary operator is zero, if the result of the operation is zero, then it's even. But this time around, we are going to be using a recursive function to do that. Now, if it is zero, if the number is zero, it will be even. If the number is one, it will be odd. For any other number, all right, we are going to use the evenness is going to be the same as n minus 2. So we are no longer using number modulus 2 equal to 0 to check for even number. We no longer do that. So that is what we are doing here. So we are going to create a recursive function. Now, this is how crazy this kind of test they give when you go to look for 50K dollars job and above. You go to look for such job. These are the kind of tests they give. The first time I wrote that test, I failed it. Okay, but I have done it the second time and I have passed it. I passed the JavaScript and the TypeScript. So now this is how crazy their test is. So now let us go on and explain this. But before I go on, you need to understand what recursion is. Recursion is when a function calls itself. That's what we taught in our D3. Okay. Now we are going to the is even we actually check for the base cases, and it will also check for the base cases is 0 and 1. So if it is 0, that means we will return even. If it is if it is if it is 1, we will return odd. But if it is any other number, we are going to return n minus 2. So that's what we are going to do. So let us go on and implement this function. Okay. So I will create a function is even. All right. It will take a parameter. I'll call it num. And then we are doing this. So now the first rule said that if it is 0, we should return true or false or even. So this is even is going to return a Boolean value. So I will say if num is equal to 0, what do I want to return? I will return true. Okay, I will return true. That's I'm returning a Boolean value here. Otherwise, if num is equal to 1, I will return false because it's not an even number. Okay. Now, what if we have any other number that is not 0 or 1? What do we do? The rule they gave us is to use the evenness. The evenness is going to be n minus 2. So now that is where recursion actually comes. So now we are going to call this function. We are going to call the is even inside of its own function. We now say num minus 2. So what would this thing do? Now, this is exactly the kind of things you learn in our mentorship program, but I'm not going to go on to explain things. So now this is going to call itself. So you see this thing I'm explaining here. If you go for that test, it can take you like it's so crazy. You can just paralyze thinking about this whole thing. So practice would actually help you to do this. So now we have written this function. So let us go on. They say we should test it against 50 and 75. So I will say console.log is even for 50. And then I will do another one, console.log um, is even. I will do 75, right? 50 and 75. So if I go on, save this file and then go on and run it, it returns true and false. 50 is true, all right, but 75 is false. So it is working, right? It is working, all right? So our code is working. So now, what happens when we give -1? That is, they also say we should check it. Observe the behavior on -1 and fix it for negative numbers. So if I go on now to say, okay, let me just take this one out. If I, instead of 50, if I go and give negative number like -1, what happens? How can we, something is going, it's not going to work. Okay, it has thrown an error. You can see that it has thrown an error. All right, it has thrown an error. So what happened is that it kept on, maximum cost tag size exceeded. It kept on calling, repeating itself. Remember that this recursion, that's one bad thing about recursion actually, because this will keep on repeating itself until the system says no, the system crashed. So we need to fix this so that this doesn't happen. One way of doing it is that we can actually say if num is equal to okay, one, the best way, the best way is to, first of all, is to convert, let me not waste our time. We can convert num, all right, is equal to, we use the absolute value in the math object, math.absolute value. So absolute value would return a positive number from a negative number. So in case this norm is negative, all right, absolute value will make it positive. Do you understand? So now in this case now, so I've given it -1. This absolute function will make it positive. So the norm will now be +1. So if I go on now, save and run again, you'll see that we'll have no more errors again. Okay, we'll have no more errors again. So I will run it again. It returns false because it's 1. What if I say -10 and save it? I'll run it again. It will return true. Okay, so this is the kind of test that they give in Turin. They give in those kind of jobs that can pay you 50K and above yearly. So I want you to count how many times the function recurses for large numbers. Okay, I want you to, you can try this thing, or this a challenge I'm giving you. Inside of the function, I want you to count how many times this recursion, this is even run. Use module operator recursively instead of the subtraction. Return even or odd as a string instead of returning a boolean. So write an alternative version using a loop and compare performance. Okay, if you can do this, then drop it in the comment section. Okay, and if you enjoyed this video, like it, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have crazy tutorials like this where you actually help you. So, and if you're interested in getting job in the next 3 to 6 months, you also want me to help you prepare you for the Turin assessment test for jobs that can pay you 50K and above. I want you to drop your WhatsApp number in the comment section, drop mentorship in the comment section, and I will reach out to you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later when I see you.